Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ellie and I've just finished part 3 of the Mathematical Tripos at the University of Cambridge, which, as I say in all of my videos, is basically a fancy way of saying that I studied a Maths Masters. Now, my current job is as a Space Systems Optimization Engineer, which is quite the mouthful, but I will be graduating from Cambridge in the spring. So I thought I would make a video about studying the hardest maths course in the world and give you a bit of insight into how the course is run, what goes on in the course, and just give you generally what my experience was. Before diving into the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I am planning on making this the first video in a long list of Cambridge series. I'm going to film loads of videos about Cambridge and specifically what maths was like there and make it into a series. So if you fancy watching those videos or if you're interested, then hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on those videos. So I have a list of notes on my laptop, so I may refer to my laptop from time to time just to make sure I'm giving you all the information that you need. But the first thing that I'm going to do is give you a bit of an introduction into what is known as the hardest maths course in the world, or what is known as one of the hardest maths courses, and that is known as Part 3 Maths at Cambridge. So I've got a bit of a short description from the website itself. Part 3 is a 9-month taught masters course in mathematics. It is an excellent preparation for mathematical research, and it is also a valuable course in mathematics and in its applications for those who want further training before taking posts in industry, teaching or research establishments. It is regarded as one of the hardest and most intensive mathematics courses in the world and is taken by approximately 260 students each year. So that's a bit of an overview of the course itself. I'm going to break down what it means by part 3. You may be wondering where's part 1 and 2, and I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of that now. So generally, Cambridge, you do a bachelor's, and that's 3 years, and each year at Cambridge it's broken down into part 1A, part 1B and part 2. So those are your 3 years at bachelor's, and then, as you guessed, part 3 is the 4th year, which is also known as the master's year. Now, typically what happens is people will study their bachelor's at Cambridge, and then if you score well enough, then you will be able to progress onto the master's. Now, this is something that's worth mentioning because the best performing students at bachelor's level at Cambridge go on to study the masters, aside from external candidates. So you were already kind of grouped up with people who are the top performing students in the bachelor's course. So typically you need a first in your bachelor's to progress onto the master's course. For those people that have scored 2 1s, they have the option to do part 3 astrophysics, which they're 2 completely different courses, but they do overlap to a certain extent, and I'll explain that later on in the video. So the main thing to take away from this section is that typically you have around 90 students who have come in internally through Cambridge Bachelors, and they are the top performing students in that bachelor's course. So you're already kind of grouped with people who are incredibly intelligent, and they take around 90 of those students internally. Externally, they take around 160, 170 students from universities other universities in the UK, so that was like myself, or other universities around the world. So typically the whole part 3 cohort is around 260 students. So that's a little bit about the whole explanation of part 3, what it means and how many students take it. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the course structure. I realise this video will be very structured in the sense of I'm going to talk you through the whole of part 3. I wanted to do that because I've had a lot of people interested in what part 3 is like, how my masters went at Cambridge, and I wanted to do a full video explaining the whole course for those of you that maybe, may have decided you're already going to do part 3 and want to watch this video, or for people that might think this is the course for me. So I wanted to put that in as an aside here. I wanted to explain the whole of part 3. There's a lot of information to get in, so I'm going to get stuck in again and continue with the course structure and just the course itself. So again, an extract from the university website says there are normally about 75 courses covering an extensive range of pure maths, probability, statistics, applied mathematics and theoretical physics. They are designed to cover those advanced parts of the subjects that are not normally covered in the first degree course, but which are indispensable preliminary to independent study and research. Students have a wide choice of the combination of courses that they offer, though naturally they tend to select groups of similar courses. So I'll put an image on the screen right here, and you can find this on the course website. It's basically just a list of what each department can be broken down into. So for example, if you look in applied mathematics, you'll notice there's a continuum mechanics section, and in there will be all of the lectures that you can study within continuum mechanics. So for me, when I studied this course last year, I had 10 modules in the continuum mechanics section. Some other sections may have 4 courses, they may have more, they may have less. It just depends on what is being taught that year. I just wanted to stress that some modules you may see that may be taught this year are not necessarily running the following year. I made that mistake of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to study this one module. It was called hydrodynamic stability, and then it was, I think, discontinued for the following year, and I was really gutted. So just bear that in mind if you are going to study. There may be some courses that may not run, and there are also some new courses that do run. There were some new courses in the year that I took part 3. So the idea behind offering so many different courses is that you can specialise, you can go into a particular area that you're interested in. So for me, it was continuum mechanics and astrophysics. Now, as an aside, you may be thinking, why is astrophysics as part of maths? The astrophysics modules were very maths heavy, so they were still classed as maths, but the astrophysics students who took part 3 astrophysics could also take those modules. So it's kind of like an overlap, but a lot of math students also took the astrophysics courses as well. And for me, they were like the best courses. I honestly loved them so much. But anyway, I digress. For me, I wanted to specialise in continuum mechanics, so fluid dynamics and astrophysics. And I was able to do that because they had a whole range of modules on offer. Some people I know specifically just said, okay, I'm going to take all 10 courses from continuum mechanics and just do that, which is completely fine. You can do that. So the idea, therefore, is that you choose an area that you can specialise in and learn a lot. You go into a lot of depth about that particular area. Now, because I've mentioned part 3 astrophysics and part 3 maths before, I just thought I'd give you a bit of an idea behind the difference between the two of them. Students from natural sciences can go into masters in astrophysics. Students who generally don't get a first in undergrad maths can go into astrophysics. Or if you do, even if you get a first in maths, you can still go into astrophysics. It's open to a wide range of different students that can apply for the astrophysics course. The difference between part 3 astrophysics and part 3 maths is that astrophysics has a larger coursework, so they have a rather large project, whereas part 3 maths, we only had a small essay which counted for a small aspect of our entire course. There's more exams that count towards your final grade in part 3 maths. So that's the difference, really. I made quite a few friends in part 3 astro, and they, I think, were allowed to take 2 modules or maybe 1 module a term from maths, whereas math students can take as many astrophysics modules as they want. That's how the 2 courses differ. So if you are someone that's interested in both of them, have a look and see what they offer. If you're someone that does better in exams, maybe the maths course is for you. If you just love astrophysics and want to go into that, then do that. So there are 2 different paths you can take there. So that's a bit of an aside, really. So a question that I got quite a lot from people that had read up on part 3, basically they'd asked how modules work at Cambridge, and it's very strange because for me, I did my undergrad elsewhere in the UK, and I went from a uni where they would say to us, you need to take this many credits and you'll fill those credits worth of modules. But at Cambridge, you can literally take as many modules as you want. The terms at Cambridge are split into Michaelmas, Lent, and then Easter, and typically you take your courses in both Michaelmas and Lent. I didn't have any courses in Easter. I think it's quite rare that you have courses in Easter. There may be a couple that run, but for me, I didn't have any. So the idea is you take your courses in Michaelmas and Lent, and then you have the whole of Easter term and the Easter holidays to revise for your exams that are at the start of June. And it's worth mentioning that the length of a term is 8 weeks. Now, you might think that's incredibly fast. For me, there were 11 weeks at my old university. So 8 weeks is a fast term and you learn a lot. But you also have quite long breaks over Christmas as well and Easter. So you have plenty of time to revise. So if you are doing part 3 and you're in the middle of term, usually by week 5 it hits you. That's when everything kind of, the stress comes. They call it, I think, the week 5 blues is what they call it. So don't worry, you have plenty of time to revise, but typically you get fed a lot of information in a short amount of time, and that can get very stressful. Now, you may be wondering, well, how do I choose how many modules I want to take? If I can take as many as I want, can I take as many as I want? So typically there's a kind of general rule of thumb, really. At Cambridge, you can get different grades. You can get a distinction, you can get a merit, and you can get a pass. A distinction is 17 to 19 units, a merit is 15 to 19 units, and a pass is 12 to 15 units. Now, each module at Cambridge is comprised of either 2 units or 3 units, so you can kind of figure out, I'm sure most of you that are watching this video study maths, so you can figure out how many 2 units and 3 units you'd need in order to qualify for distinction, merit or pass. I took 17 because I wanted to be in, the region for a distinction. And for me, I took 5 exams and then I took 1 essay, which counts for 3 units. And I'll explain how the essay works in a little bit. So I took 5 exams and a 3-unit essay. 4 of my exams were 3 units and 1 was a 2-unit. Now, for these distinction, merit and pass, that is just the units you need to take to exam. So for me, I took 5 modules to exam and then I did an essay, which was worth 3 units. You may break that down and think, okay, well, that's roughly around 3 courses a term. And that's very doable. You might think that's almost too easy. And what's important to remember is that you can take more courses than what you're actually taking towards exam. So for me, I took 5 modules to exam, but I think I studied around 8 or 9 different courses, and I'm going to be doing a whole video on each of the modules that I took and explaining, whether I like them and just generally giving you advice for how to know which modules to pick. So that will be one of the videos in this series. So as I said, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. Now, typically at the start of Michaelmas, you'll have a lecture with some staff at the maths department, and they will say to you, we recommend you take 5, 6, 7 modules at the start of the term. Then by the end of the first week, you drop down to, I think it was like 4 or 5 modules. They basically say to you, don't do too many, you'll burn yourself out, you'll get so stressed, you won't be able to understand the content of other modules, don't push yourself. Do 4 or 5, start with take as many as you want. You can take 8, take as many as you want. And then figure out which ones you enjoy, which one has, the teaching style is up to your standard, you like the lecture, you like the people in it, you understand the material well, then drop down to the ones that you think, I want to learn these this term. Now, don't worry if you think 4 or 5 is a lot. Most of my friends, and myself included, took between 3 and 4 for each term, because it does get intense. Yeah, it's a very intense course. You learn a lot in a short amount of time. And you have example sheets, and they're long example sheets for the ones that I studied anyway, and it can get very hard. So, one thing that I would always say is part 3 is as hard as you make it. If you give yourself loads of course content to learn, then it's going to be hard. So just be sensible with the modules that you choose. That's kind of what I did, and I'm glad I did that. Now, what's worth mentioning, if say you're watching this video and you go away and you get an offer from part 3 and then you're in the middle of part 3 and you're really struggling, please remember this. You only need to take 12 units to pass. So you could say, okay, I'm going to take 3 units for an essay, I'm going to do my essay, and then you only need to take 3 exams. That's all you need to do. So if you're in a position where you are struggling so much with this course, and it happens, people are in those situations because of how intense the course is. You only need to take 3 exams to pass. So there's a bit of kind of hope in that even if you are struggling, hopefully you'll know that the minimum that you need to do is just sit 3 exams and pass those 3 exams. So how is it assessed? I've mentioned how the exam system works. You take those number of units if you want to be in for a chance of getting a distinction, merit or pass. That's what you take to exam. You can technically take all exams if you want to. You don't have to do an essay, but part 3 offers the chance to do some research, and for me, I snapped that up straight away. I did very well in my undergrad dissertation, and I love research, I love reading, I love writing. So I was like, I'm gonna do this essay, and essentially you get given a list of titles. Some will be released at the end of Michaelmas term, some at the start of Lent, and you choose a title, they come with a supervisor, and then you will do some research on a particular area. Now, it's worth stressing that these essays don't have to be your own research. For me, I picked a topic where my supervisor was kind of like, there's no way you're going to be able to do new research in this area, so I'm going to make you do a lit review. And I really enjoyed that. I got to do some research into an area that was on wave attractors. For those of you that are interested, mine was on fluid dynamics, kind of wave attractors in rotating and stratified fluids. I did that with Professor Gordon Ogilvie, I think I've pronounced his name correctly, who also previously ran the astrophysical fluid dynamics lectures, so he's also a lecturer. So my essay is on my LinkedIn if you fancy checking it out, and I got 87% in my dissertation, so I got a distinction, and I was very, very happy. I worked so hard on that, probably too hard at times. Honestly, cried on results day because I was so happy with that mark. So if you fancy giving that a read, then it's on my LinkedIn. I'm also going to do a video on this channel in this series about how you write a maths dissertation, what are the do's and don'ts really, because I learnt a lot doing this essay, a heck of a lot, so I'll be doing a video on that on this channel too. But as an overview for the essay, you basically just get a title and then you'll go research into that particular area. And I think you get to meet with your supervisor, I think 4 times is the maximum. If you have any more, then they'll class that as you getting too much help and then may knock you down. For those of you that may be wondering, do I do an essay or do I not? You get your results for your essay the same time you get your exam results. So it's not like you know your essay result before so you can then relax. I thought I'd done quite well in my essay, so I did relax a bit, and I think if you are someone that does well in dissertations and loves research, definitely do the essay. And even if you're not, like, you learn so much. For the job that I do now, I do a lot of research, and honestly my research skills are so much better than they used to be because I did this essay. So 100% recommend anybody to do the essay because I really enjoyed it, and I think it helped you become a better mathematician. If you're somebody that wants to do a PhD, you need to learn how to research, so definitely recommend doing the essay. Now, something to mention in this section, because I'm talking about how you get assessed, you do have example sheets, but they do not count towards anything. The only coursework you have is the essay. Everything else is exam based. If you take a module, that is assessed 100% by an exam. So if you don't do the essay, your entire grade is based on exams. And as a bit of an aside, if you do a 3-unit course, you get 4 example sheets. If you do a 2-unit course, you get 3 example sheets. And it's worth mentioning that some modules don't give you full solutions to the example sheets, so make sure you're paying attention when it comes to the example classes. Now I'm going to move on to the requirements for this course. So again, from the website, it says the MAST/MMath. Now this is an aside. If you are an internal candidate and you've done your bachelor's at Cambridge and you're doing part 3 maths at Cambridge, you get a master's that's known as an MMath. If you come externally, you have an MAST, which is a Master's of Advanced Study. So the two are different depending on whether you're internal or external. That's just a side note. So the website says the MAST/MMath is a mathematically challenging and intensive course for well-qualified students with a high level of independence and self-motivation. The minimum entry requirement for non-Cambridge graduates is normally a UK first-class honours degree in mathematics, physics, engineering or statistics, or an equivalent qualification. Now, I would like to emphasise that you may think, okay, I've got a first class in my bachelor's, perfect, I'm going to get into part 3. I know people that have applied with a first class and they have still been rejected, so I want people to be aware that your academic CV and your application has to stand out. You have to have done things other than just get a first class. There is actually a video on my channel where I walk through my entire CV that I think sent to Oxford and Cambridge. I think both courses needed a CV, and there's a video on my channel where I walk you through what I've done. So if you need some advice and maybe how to structure your application, then that might be useful. There are also some other videos explaining the application process and stuff like that. Now, one final thing that I wanted to mention was that there was actually no interview for this course. That was something that helped me a lot because I performed generally quite well in interviews, but I was nervous, and knowing that I didn't have to interview for this course helped a lot. So there is no interview, just I want to add that in here as something that I've highlighted on my notes. I'm going to move on to preparation, and this was something that I thought is definitely worth mentioning, because if you're somebody that is going to study part 3, you might need to hear this. Now, for me, when I applied and I got my offer, I thought that the website was very scary. Wherever you went, it would say something like, is part 3 ready for you? Are you good enough for part 3? If not, then you might want to reconsider your decision. And I understand why they do it, because they want people to come in and get the best grades that they can, and they want people who are generally going to thrive in the environment. So I think they put these kind of scare tactics on the website so that you're well prepared before you join. I remember seeing those and being very scared. I had a decision to choose Oxford or Cambridge for my masters, and I almost didn't choose Cambridge for that reason, because of probably my imposter syndrome at the time. But I just kept seeing everywhere, is part 3 for you? Are you good enough for part 3? And all this stuff, and it scared me. I'll be completely honest. There are lots of sections on the website that give you kind of places that you can prepare for part 3. So if you know you're going to go into continuum mechanics, there's a section that says you need to know these things. And for me, luckily, my undergrad, I had learned all those things, so it wasn't too much of a stress. There is a big difference between those that are internal candidates who have studied maths at Cambridge for 3 years and those who are external. So I would make sure that, you look at the courses online that have the kind of, you need these things to do these courses, and just check that you can do them. Something that I would recommend that I think is really important is, if you know what courses you're going to do and you know they're running, try and find lecture notes for them. I did that for astrophysical fluid dynamics there's a set of lecture notes, a lot of lecture notes. When I studied that course, it only touched upon a few chapters, but there's an entire set of lecture notes, and you can read them. You can learn them before you come to Cambridge. So I think it's important to know that you've got the prerequisite material, but also if you're interested in a particular module you're going to study, try from the lecture notes and try and learn that. Now, one of the most important things I would say is to make sure you give yourself a good enough break before you come to Cambridge, because it's intense. 8-week terms are intense. You come to Cambridge and then everything is, for me, it was just crazy. I had matriculation, I had these incredible kind of formals and everything. I was surrounded by this just incredible environment that it was just so fast paced. Then term started, and then you're trying to meet new friends, and it was just it was just fast. And the best thing I did was give myself a break before I joined, and I think that's important to anybody that does join. Make sure you're giving yourself enough time before you start, because when you start, there's no stopping. It is this kind of relentless example sheet after example sheet, lecture after lecture, and it gets tiring at times. And as a side note, some lectures are held on Saturdays, so for some of you, you will have lectures maybe every day and have one day off. So it can get very intense. So the best advice is give yourself a break. Now I'm going to talk about the support that I received generally at part 3. This entire video is specific to part 3. I'll be making a separate video about my Cambridge experience, which was incredible, but that will be in a separate video. This is just for part 3. Personally, for me, my first year of uni at my undergrad was very guided. We learnt how to do, how to be accountable for our own problem sheets and stuff like that, so that by third year, I was very independent. I barely asked for help. Just got on with it and did it that way. So when I moved and did part 3, it was fine for me. I didn't need that much support. Whereas some other people, I understand their previous education may be very, very guided, lots of support. And I just wanted to kind of warn anyone that part 3 is not always the same. So the only support you get from a given module is from the lecturer, who typically is a researcher in that area, who most often than not are very busy. And if you have a big class size, obviously there's more students wanting to ask questions, so they have less time. Now, luckily for me, all of my lecturers were incredibly approachable and would answer my emails straight away. If not, then I would just go see them and we'd talk about stuff. So I was very fortunate in that sense that my lecturers were very supportive. You also have your example sheet teachers. They go through the example sheet. Normally that is just your lecturer, so it's the same person again. Some of my modules, I had different teachers for my example sheets, so you could also ask them. But in terms of the material, you generally just have your lecturer and your example sheet teacher, and normally those are the same person. So you have one person per module, typically 1 or 2 people. Now, if you are struggling a lot with a module, there are external people that can help, but typically, aside from students, aside from working together with students, you only really have 1 or 2 people per module. As I said, every lecturer I had that I spoke to was very helpful, so I'm hoping that that'll be the same for you if you are choosing to do part 3. Now, aside from the actual lecture content yourself, you also get support from your college, and you also have a departmental contact. In your college, you have a college tutor and a director of studies. A college tutor generally overlooks everything, so your well-being, whereas a director of studies is specific to the course that you're studying. And both of mine in my college were incredible, really. And then you have a departmental contact, which is within the department itself. So mine was within the Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics. I had a Trinity Fellow, I believe, as my departmental contact, and he was great. Spoke to him I think you have a catch-up each term, and he was lovely. Just generally talked about loving the maths and loving the astrophysics and kind of my progress. So those are the only people you have typically for the math side of things. If your obviously well-being is, you're struggling mentally or physically, then you have other people inside your college that help with that. So a quick overview of what lectures are like. As I said, you have a 3-unit course and you have a 2-unit course. Those are the kind of courses that you can take. 3-unit courses have 3 lectures every week, and they have an example class every other week. Then the 2-unit course has 2 hours every week, or 2 lectures, and an example class almost every other week. So you have 3 example sheets for 2 units and 4 example sheets for 3 units. Now, lectures are typically 50 minutes long. They start at 5 past and finish at 5:02 so that people can get to their other lectures in time. And most rooms have full lecture recording capability. not all lecturers choose to record their lectures. So it's important to remember that not all of your lectures are recorded. So going to the lectures is very important. And yeah, lecturers themselves are people who are world leaders in their research. Having conversations with some of these people at Cambridge was just like incredible to me. It was like I was like fangirling or something. I was like, oh my gosh, you're incredible. I get to speak to you. I get to, just mad. Honestly, crazy. The lectures themselves I really enjoyed, and I think that's because you have someone who is an incredible researcher telling you about their own research, and they're passionate about it, like they love it. That's something that I noticed a lot at Cambridge, and it was nice and refreshing, really. Now, that is kind of an overview of part 3. I've gone into how many courses you can take, how it's structured, just generally an overview of part 3. If you have any more questions, comment them down below. If you have any more video suggestion ideas, comment them down below, just because I realised that I've gone into certain detail on certain areas in part 3 but might have missed out some other bits. So comment as many comments as you want and I'll answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who has supported this channel. 2023, I'm coming in with a lot of videos, so I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.